So the truth is about these guys, I have two strong opinions. I think Dillon Gabriel's size is an issue. I would have a hard time building around him. He's small. But I think Shedeur was underdrafted. Shedeur is bigger. I think he moves well. I would choose Shedeur over Dillon Gabriel.
Two young quarterbacks, one golden opportunity, but only one can lead the charge. The spotlight isn't just bright, it's blinding. Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel walked into the NFL with entirely different energies. But now, they're standing in the same arena, with fans, analysts, and insiders choosing sides fast. The controversy didn't start with a bad play or a blown coverage. It started with a bold claim. Did the Browns pick the wrong guy? Because when Colin Cowherd speaks, people listen. Colin Cowherd didn't mince words. After watching Dillon Gabriel's preseason debut, he hit the airwaves with a warning. If this is the future of the Browns offense, they're in trouble. It wasn't just the interceptions or missed reads. Cowherd was laser-focused on what he saw as Gabriel's biggest weakness. His size. Too small for the big stage, too limited to build around. According to Cowherd, the physical tools just aren't there.
Shedeur outplayed Dillon Gabriel in both practice and in the preseason in their starts. No matter if it's a half each player played, you can't have it both ways. You can't say Dillon played as well, if not better than...
But then came the twist. Cowherd turned his attention to Shedeur Sanders. Not only did he say Shedeur looked more comfortable on the field, but he went further and called him underdrafted. He claimed that during practices and early preseason moments, Sanders simply outplayed Gabriel. Better movement, better poise, more presence. For Cowherd, the choice was obvious and not even close. This wasn't just a preference. It was a blistering indictment of the Browns' decision-making. While Gabriel may offer structure and predictability, Cowherd argued that Sanders had something more, the intangible qualities that show up when the lights are brightest. And for a team badly needing direction, that kind of leadership might be exactly what's missing. Shedeur Sanders doesn't just play football. He commands attention. And that's exactly what's fueling this fire.
Really, really good. Proud of you.
Cool.
Really, really nice.
You're not fully proud, kinda.
No, I'm
kinda
proud. Look, for your flip side, was it perfect? No, but you made plays, you operated, like, so it's just stacked.
I love when you tell the facts. Did you? No, but it's okay. It's okay.
Listen, you did a nice job, okay? So just take what you learned from tonight, apply it to the joint practices.
Colin Cowherd touched on something deeper than stats or highlights. He described Shedeur as having an aura, that presence that makes you look twice, that spark that gets fans out of their seats. But in the NFL, that kind of energy is a double-edged sword. Cowherd explained that general managers quietly gravitate toward quarterbacks who are great but boring. Players who stay out of headlines, don't stir up controversy, and avoid becoming the story. Dillon Gabriel, with his quiet demeanor and steady style, fits that mold. Shedeur, not at all. He comes in with a brand, a background, and a bulletproof confidence. Qualities that excite fans but scare off conservative front offices. Because when a quarterback has that much attention, the pressure isn't just to perform, it's to live up to the hype every single week. And that pressure, it's exactly why some teams might pass on a player like Shedeur, even if their talent is undeniable.
I liked it, but that's not to throw any shade on Dillon Gabriel. He came out there, had a couple of mishaps, what have you, but ultimately he played well, and I give him credit where credit is due. But watching Shedeur move the offense or what have you, I thought that his performance was slightly better than Dillon.
But here's the question no one wants to answer. Are GMs playing it safe or just afraid to invest in someone who might already be bigger than the franchise itself? At first, Cleveland's front office stood firm. Dillon Gabriel was their guy, safe, smart, structured. But after Shedeur Sanders dropped a new perfect performance in preseason, something flipped. And no one flipped harder than Browns GM Andrew Berry. In a moment that felt more like a proud dad than an executive, Berry publicly praised Shedeur, calling his composure and command on the field impressive, and even going so far as to say he was really proud. of how he handled himself. Proud of a guy you didn't draft? Fans noticed. Analysts noticed. Because this wasn't just post-game politeness. This sounded like regret. Like someone realizing they may have backed the wrong quarterback.
Merciless. But in the end, no one will be wrong because who instigated that fury against you? It would be you. Very, very idiotic and stupid for you to say what you said.
Barry emphasized Shedeur's maturity and field vision. He didn't bring up stats. He didn't mention Gabriel. It was all about Sanders, his mindset, his growth, his readiness. And that kind of praise doesn't come casually in the NFL. Especially not from a GM who just put his job on the line by going with someone else. So what changed? Public pressure? Internal whispers? Or did Shedeur show something in those limited snaps that made even the front office stop and wonder, did we just let a franchise QB slip right past us? If Colin Cowherd lit the spark, Stephen A. Smith poured gasoline on the fire. Never one to hold back. Stephen A. didn't just name Shedeur Sanders the better quarterback. He went full throttle, saying Sanders was more composed, more dynamic, and more battle-tested than Dillon Gabriel. The reason? Pressure. Stephen A. wasn't looking at stats. He was watching who thrived when it mattered most.
Okay, well, it wasn't him. He's the dude that went out there and played very, very well in his preseason debut. This guy, Dillon Gabriel, he still had good moments in third down, 6 for 6. Completing his passes was impressive, had composure in the pocket, et cetera, et cetera. There was a lot of good things to say about Dillon Gabriel. But he threw shade on his own performance by showing he was...
And for him, the answer was obvious. Shedeur didn't just play well, he owned the moment. But things got heated when Stephen A. brought up something no stat sheet could cover. Gabriel's mouth. After throwing questionable shade towards Sanders and the media, Dillon found himself in the crosshairs. Stephen A. called it what it was, an idiotic move that showed immaturity, not leadership. In Stephen A.'s eyes, Gabriel's biggest mistake wasn't on the field. It was getting caught up in the headlines. Talking instead of delivering, and that, he claimed, is the difference. Gabriel let the drama distract him. Shedeur just balled out. His verdict? Sanders is the guy you want when the spotlight gets hot. The guy who can carry the weight of expectations and still deliver. Because in the NFL, there's no room for passive characters. You're either built for pressure or you break under it. Stephen A. didn't just criticize Dillon Gabriel's comments. He exposed a deeper issue in the league, the double standard around media pressure. When Gabriel made his petty remarks about Shedeur Sanders, most analysts gave him a pass. But if the roles had been reversed, Stephen A. says Sanders would have been torn apart. And he's probably right. Shedeur represents more than just a quarterback. He's a brand, a narrative, a high-profile name with all eyes on him. When he speaks, headlines follow. When he stumbles, people celebrate. The leash is short, and the expectations are sky high. Meanwhile, Gabriel, who came in with far less buzz, gets the benefit of the doubt. It's not just about the throws anymore. It's about perception. Stephen A. was clear. Shedeur has handled that pressure with complete control. He's managed the media, stayed focused, and let his play speak. Gabriel, on the other hand, let one comment muddy an entire performance. For a player who needs every win he can get, that slip was costly. And it raises a blunt question. Is the league punishing confidence, or just uncomfortable with quarterbacks who won't stay quiet off the field? Because, like it or not, being great isn't enough anymore. You also have to play the PR game. For a while, it felt like Dillon Gabriel had the edge. He was consistent in training camp, reliable in early reps, and showed flashes of confidence in his preseason debut. In fact, his third down performance, 6 for 6, with solid pocket composure, was impressive enough to quiet some doubters, at least for a moment. But here's the thing about momentum. It shifts fast in the NFL. While Gabriel had a few strong moments, Shedeur Sanders has been stacking them. His decision-making? Sharper. His field presence? More commanding. And every time analysts break down the tape, the same thing keeps coming up. Sanders looks like he belongs. He plays like someone ready for the responsibility, not just the chance. And it's not just about talent, it's about energy. Sanders brings a spark to the offense. You can see it in his teammates, on the sidelines. Even in how the camera finds him after a big play. He's not being managed, he's leading. Meanwhile, Gabriel's media flub has taken the shine off his early momentum. Fair or not, it happened. And in a league where narratives matter as much as numbers, that slip could cost him more than just a headline. It could cost him the job. At this point, the question isn't just who's better on paper. It's who fits the moment and who feels like the future. It all comes down to this. The Browns had a choice: play it safe or take a swing. And right now, it feels like they bet on stability over superstar potential. Dillon Gabriel brings quiet leadership, solid structure, and minimal controversy. If you want a guy to manage the game and stay out of the headlines, he's your pick. And maybe that's what Cleveland wanted. But is that what they needed? Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just talented, he's bold, battle-tested, and already showing signs of something rare: presence under pressure. He rises when the spotlight burns hottest. He doesn't falter under expectations. He feeds off them. And that's the kind of quarterback that can change not just games, but entire franchises. Colin Cowherd saw it early. Stephen A. Smith hammered it home. And now the fans see it too. This isn't just a debate about quarterbacks. It's about vision. It's about whether the league is finally ready to embrace a new kind of leader. One who brings both the talent and the noise. Because greatness, it's never quiet. So here's the real question. Did the Browns just pass on the next star quarterback in Shedeur Sanders? Or is Dillon Gabriel quietly building his moment in the shadows? Only time and pressure will reveal the truth.